Hey y'all, this is Moni.
And this is Kat.
Hey Kat. And this is the Fake Ass Book Club. Wait, can we both say it or no?
Hey guys, this is your girl Moni. Welcome back to the Fake Ass Book Club.
And this is Kat.
Hey Kat, what's up, friend?
Living it up, having it all.
As one does.
Yeah, I like it.
You know what I'm saying?
What's
You
up
look
with you?
lovely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm feeling very soft and feminine today. So
Okay.
I just made my environment very soft and feminine. Like
You know
maybe,
what? I enjoy
a
that
woman's
about you.
products ad over here.
Definitely got the silky background.
Yeah.
Got the
Got some
flowers.
silk and flowers and my Patron bottle.
Oh
It's a
man, now
repurposed
that is
Patron
classy.
bottle.
I
Yeah,
like
it's super
it.
classy.
That is, you know what?
Yeah.
I was just thinking too. That was funny because our friends at the Three Drunken Nights podcast. Shout
Wow,
out to
that's not
you
what it's
guys.
called.
Wait, what is it? It's
It's
not Three
just you
Drunken.
said it's just Drunken Nights. There
Is
are
it? I
3
don't
of
know.
them, but
Okay,
it's
that's
just
for my
Drunken Nights.
reference. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
You guys
3
forgive
drunk
me.
they are, but
You guys are
there
Three
are 3
Drunken Nights.
Drunken Nights. But yeah, the
Okay,
podcast is just Drunken
Drunken
Nights.
Drunken Nights podcast. Listen, y'all met me. Y'all know what it is. It's all up. I
You gotta
apologize.
fact check everything over here.
You do. It's fine. And I mean, let's talk about fact checking. We're the worst at that. But also, so I don't lose my point. They also were asking us, do we do nigga shit on our podcast? And
Oh.
even though we're elegant and cute and everything, I feel like the fact that you have a Patron bottle repurposed as
Mhm.
a sort of
It's
vase
a
for your
vase.
flowers is
Yeah.
not even borderline nigga shit. Like that is what that is right now. And I
But
love
they're
it. And it
so
makes me feel
pretty.
happy.
Like,
They
I hate throwing
are.
out Patron bottles. They're so beautiful. And it's always interesting to me that Paul Mitchell owns Patron. That's always tickled me to death.
Oh
Like,
God.
the
Not Paul
hair
Mitchell, the
dude,
hair dude.
yeah, now that's not enough money from getting all the hair products. Imma need to
When
also
is there
make
enough
this look good.
money?
I don't know. I always ask
That's
myself
not a
that.
thing. That's not a thing,
I
friend.
guess
But
not.
yeah, man. Okay, well, you know what? With that, guys, we're back for another fun episode of the Fake
We
Ass Book
are.
Club. I'm so glad you made it back, you guys. We have a fun topic today. So, we announced last week we weren't sure what we were going to talk about, so we decided to check out. This is a Netflix situation, right?
No.
Okay, what
It
is
was
it? I'm
very
scared.
much on Peacock.
Okay, great. Peacock, yes, that. It was on one of the many streaming services that I can't keep track of because hashtag 1990s.
Damn.
Okay. All right. It was on one of them hoes and it was Honk for Jesus. Save your soul. Okay. So a little blurb about that, you guys. It's a 2022 American dark comedy drama film written and directed and produced by Adama Ebo. In her featured directorial debut. And it's a feature length adaptation of the 2018 short film of the same name. And it was released September 2nd of this year, which is 2022. So here we are, guys. We're going to talk about it. So I'm
Here we
excited to talk about this
go.
thing. This is going to be fun.
I'm super excited to talk about it because I watched the whole thing.
Wow. See, you know what? I feel like this is.
I just want to give everyone all the information. We're here to share. And the next thing I want to
Wait,
share,
I'm going to go.
for everyone on the audio movement,
Dun, dun, dun,
Moni just gave
dun,
me the finger again
dun,
because
dun,
she
dun,
didn't finish it.
dun,
I'm just excited
dun,
because I've
dun,
been coming hard ever
dun,
since I
dun,
completely did
dun,
not
dun.
read a book a couple weeks ago.
So
Like, didn't even start
also,
it.
what I want you to do though is feel secure in the fact that like you're the smart one on this podcast.
No,
Everyone who listens knows. We know you're the one who does your homework. We
we obviously trade
know.
off because we can talk about taking notes and doing homework. And how I think we take turns being the studious nerd and the super cool slacker.
Okay, cool. Well,
So
fine. This week
2
we're
weeks
back
ago,
to
I was
the.
the super cool slacker. And this week, I'm the studious nerd who watched the movie. We didn't even read a book.
Listen,
I
I couldn't even
watched
pull
the
that off. You guys, I fell asleep. Okay,
It's
damn.
fair. And to be fair, I fell asleep as
Goddamn.
well. I just had a movie watch buddy who woke me up and was like, "Mom, wake up. You have to see the ending because it doesn't make sense."
Oh wow.
So
She was like, I am confused. I
I
need
need to
help.
talk about this with someone. So wake up, watch it, and talk to me about it. So I
Respect.
mean, you can thank my daughter for the accountability because it's very possible I would have been like, "Oh, it was late."
Sure. Sure. I mean, my movie watching buddy fell asleep with me, so there's that. And
Mhm.
then I got busy and then didn't revisit it
Mhm.
because guess what? I was
Mhm.
trying to just live my life. So I thought, you know what? It's a fake ass book club, as you guys know. So it's still gonna be fun. I still have lots to say no matter what.
I think this is hell. It we're gonna have a great time.
It's gonna
I
be
want to
fun.
break down our director because I'm mad I don't make sure I'm following her. Like she's amazing.
Okay,
Adama
do it.
Ebo. Adama is the second born twin. Her stubbornness is what delayed her arrival by 17 minutes. And a graduate of Spelman College and UCLA graduate directing production program. Raised to question everything, her critical outlook and skepticism of the world thrust her into her love and fascination with satire and dark comedies. She also loves animation, sci fi, and fantasy, and her passions outside of filmmaking include video games, fashion, anime, and naps.
I respect her a lot.
I do too. I'm like, wow, these are all things I enjoy as well. And she's accelerated. First off, wow, Spelman.
Listen, shout out to the Black colleges out there,
Yes,
HBCUs.
it's
Let's do it.
giving.
It's definitely
So
giving.
yes, it felt good to be like, okay, so we get to talk about Black women things
Yes, I
this
love it.
week.
I love it. It's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, so I guess before we jump all the way into it, let's cue up some I don't know, like we like to dedicate, like if this is your first time here, guys, this is our thing. Hands over
There we
your
go.
body, hands over your heart. So this week, as always, we want to dedicate this episode to all of our Fab friends, Fab fam out there. Shout out to all our supporters. Thank you. Also, you guys, I have to dedicate this episode to the illustrious Serena Williams and her, I mean, just iconic career. I don't even feel like I need to say too much about that. Listen, iconic status right now. Like, so shout out to you, Queen, for your retirement, what you've done for the sport, for women, for Black women. Honestly, I like bow down to you. Like you go hard. So shout out to you. Also, want to shout this out to Chloe Bailey. You guys, if you're not Chloe, I'm sorry. Listen, her
Hallie?
sister. Yes, Halle Bailey. I was gonna say Halle Berry, but listen. It's late, okay? But so that you guys might know Halle because her and her sister Chloe have a group who are like 5 times Grammy nominated or whatever, and they are super fantastic and beautiful. But she just got a role in the live animation of The Little Mermaid. Well, she's been at it, but it's coming out soon, and
We saw
I've
the
watched
trailer.
the trailer
The
like a
trailer
million
drop.
times. Yo, it's a vibe. That was like one of my favorite Disney movies. So shout out to you. You know
I'm
what I'm
glad
saying?
that's part of our world.
Representation. Part of your world. Okay. So,
So iconic.
what about you, friend?
Okay, so this week, I want to dedicate this episode to Adama's sister, Adane Ebo, because I actually read her bio first, thinking it was her, because they are identical twins. So I guess this is like a twin dedication, because yours was twins, mine's is twins. They're just so dope, and also the fact too, where she said her critical thinking about church started when they started preaching against Harry Potter at her church, and she was like, I don't know about all this. So I love that. Super hard, super relatable, super dope. So this one goes out to them.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Dedication over.
All right, dedication over, you guys. So, I guess there's nothing else to do but get into it, you guys.
Yeah, put your
So,
back into it.
put your back into
Yeah. So I guess
back
I'll have to
into it.
give you sort of what's the last thing you remember from Honk for Jesus Save Your Soul? I
Um,
wish there like was footage of you and your husband asleep on the couch. Like that would be really, really funny to
yo,
me.
I don't know. I don't think well, to
I would
you.
I would turn it into a painting. I feel like that's so universal and relatable.
It definitely
Like
is, man.
it's such a vibe where
Like,
it's
that's
just
our
like,
date
"Hey,
night.
right, let's watch
We
this
fall
together."
asleep
It's like,
together. Let's fall
why
asleep
do we always
together.
play ourselves. It's like, this is obviously gonna be watching us, but,
But it's funny because every time we turn something on and it's like past 10 o'clock, it's like, so are we gonna do the front fest this evening, or are we gonna just take our asses to bed? It's like, no, let's front. Let's front. Let's see because sometimes we're able to pull it off, but this particular time we were not. And so the last thing I remember is I don't remember much. I just know they were agreeing. So like the characters in it, it was like Regina Hall, and I don't remember the actor's name, which is really messed up, but um
Sterling
he's
K. Brown?
yes. Yep, him.
He's
And
attractive.
yes, they're both attractive. So it was kind of cute, but like she's the pastor's wife and it looks like they're trying to come back from some kind of like church scandal or whatever. So they have this um crew following them around doing like a documentary on them and talking about their church and stuff, and I really don't remember. I just feel like the last thing I remember was them showing this fancy closet. Like it was super in the beginning. Like I don't think I made it past.
Wow.
There might be more, but that's the only visual thing I can remember. So that
Okay, well,
might have
that's
been like
good
10
because
minutes into
I would have to give a
it.
breakdown anyway for the listeners, so I'll just
Please
do
do.
a little breakdown for you.
Do that. Do that.
Okay, so Um, oh, so this is it's a mockumentary style, so kind of like The Office, where we're following them around, and then there's also confessionals. So we get them together, we get them apart. We start with Lee Curtis is the pastor's name, paid by Sterling K. Brown, and Trinity is Regina Hall's character. And just first off, they did such a good job of capturing that sort of just vibe you get at black mega churches. Like it's a whole vibe. And can I say it's very different from like a small town, like a smaller black church, like a small community black church. That is very different than black mega church.
Very
And
much so.
yeah, and so the fact that I've experienced both really helped to color this movie for me. But let me see. Oh yeah, because I was in my notes. They nailed it. So the opening scene is them showing like that closet, the thrones they sit on the at the altar and stuff. And it comes in with Poppin' My Collar. Uh
Popping
who
my
sang
collar,
who da- we're
popping
so I'm
my
so lame.
collar.
I know
That
all
was
the
like
words, don't know who sang it. And I tell
popping
them put that
my.
money in
Is
my
that like
hand.
UGK or something? Something?
It
Hold on.
feels like it. We could look it up.
I'm looking it up. But keep going.
Thank
I'll
you.
look it up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And cuz that's the vibe. Like it cuz it's black black mega church is based on the prosperity doctrine, which
Three
funny
Six
enough,
Mafia. Why didn't
wow.
obviously it was
Shame
something
on us.
Southern. We're
Or
see.
actually not shame on us. I spent a lot of energy being a good parent and it didn't go into memorizing hip hop people. So
That's not true.
sorry.
You know all the trap music songs. Don't
I
even
do,
try
but I
that.
don't know
You
who
can be
sang
both.
them. I
Oh,
should
that's
be
true. I never know.
I don't know what they look like, and I don't
And it
like. I
doesn't
couldn't
even
pick
matter.
if 3 6 Mafia came up in here right now. I would not. I'd be like,
You
"Why
would
are
know
you?"
Juicy J.
No, I wouldn't. I do not know what Juicy J looks like.
Straight up. Oh, no, see, I would know him if I saw
I
him. He's
I
the only
really do
one
not.
though.
Oh, anyway,
Sorry.
so but it's
Sidetrack.
giving because it's based on the prosperity doctrine, which is your wealth is a sign of God's favor.
Mm,
And so that's why you're supposed to be giving the money to this pastor because he's within God's favor and so he
right.
deserves money. And if you're broke, you're out of God's favor. So you need to start giving money so that you can get back in with the favor and stuff like that. And funny enough, that hasn't always been a part of Christianity. That's a fairly new sort of because Jesus was all about helping the poor out, and now it's kind of like
It's kinda lame now.
a little bit being
It's
poor
like
is like
helping the poor.
that's not a
This
good
is a
look.
you problem. This has
That's
nothing to do with Jesus. You're not
exactly.
praying
But
hard
you know
enough.
who kind of started that a little bit?
I know
At
you're gonna
least
tell me.
at least in my opinion, I think it was the Mormons. I feel like they really
Yeah.
kind of got that popping a little bit. But it
Wait, so you can't just drop that off.
sorry.
Are we talking about is it who specifically? Is there like a televangelist or something, or we're just
No,
saying
I
the
think
Mormon
their
faith in general?
entire doctrine, like really the way Joseph Smith, because the way he
Mm.
hustled, like his whole ethos and how he started the thing, like it's about that Skrilla and even like the breakout cults and stuff like that. It's a very particular brand of pimping. I'll say that. So that's why the Pop in My Collar was a really, really good musical note. It really helped set the tone. So Basically they're being real cagey about what the scandal is about, because you get the fact that like they're trying to rehab their image, so they have this documentary crew come in to film them so that they can try to be like, hey, he's been I've forgiven him,
He's
we've
been
come back from
redeemed.
this, because my daughter kept asking me, she's like, what did he do? And I'm like, babe, I think this is kind of what this is
Doesn't
part of the
matter.
suspense. Well, it does
Mhm.
matter, like they're ramping up to it though.
Oh,
And
okay,
like with
gotcha.
most things too, like that are people don't want to talk about it. But basically, he was messing around with like young members of the congregation, young male members of the congregation. And then of course they show all these old clips of him preaching against homosexuality and da 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 da. But like, yeah, he so they bring in some of the church members who still want to stick with him. And
I
he
think
does
I
this like,
saw that.
yeah, and he takes off all his clothes in front of them, and then he's very cut. It was
Please
like,
stop.
wow.
No, I didn't see that
And
part,
then
no.
and then she baptizes him, and it's really funny because she holds him under for a really long time. And she's like, and while she's doing it, she's like, yes, Jesus.
I know
Yeah.
that's right. Yes, just get his ass the fuck out of here because I am
Like,
very angry still, and I have to pretend like I'm not. And yes,
but she
Jesus.
baptizes him, so that's it. That's the hard reset. But what happened is a younger couple that they had helped mentor, they're starting their own mega church.
I
So
saw them.
they coach, yeah, like they came in and kind of took their hoes. Like, this is pimping, it's all pimping. So they're trying to come back for their hoes, and they're like, nah, we ain't giving you your hoes back. We got them and you fucked up. So
Not
I'm
we're
gonna
coming for your
send.
hoes though. That's a lot.
Yeah, and so to me, the reason why this, and it is a comedy, like there's some for real comedy beats. There's a point in the car. Did you see when they were singing "Nuck If You Buck" in like the rain in
Girl,
the
you just told me that the part that I told you was the last part that I saw was the opening scene.
So there's a part when they are like, after they had shot a scene at the church or whatever. I don't know if it was the baptism. It was something had just happened, and she's like, "Okay, Lee Curtis, let's go." And they're just trying to be polite or whatever in the car, and then all of a sudden, "Nuck If You Buck" comes on, and he starts rapping every single lyric.
Of course.
And it's like, it's real funny because it was funny too, because like we're sitting there because we're eating, watching the movie and stuff, me and my daughter. And so I start singing the song too. Cause I was, and it's
She's
like, we
like,
knocking and bucking.
"Skirt."
And she's like, no, she's used to it. And so, but I was like, no. And then Regina Hall starts singing. It was very, very funny. But later on we see the first lady Trinity, she goes shopping and she's at Bathsheba's Bonnets, because she's getting her church lady hat, and she ends up buying this $2,500 hat. And like you, and she doesn't, you just, the camera angles are just picking it up, kind of like on The Office, where you just kind of peeping game, because you're like, God,
Sure.
this is over
Not
$2,500 actually.
25.
And I paused it and I was like, Bathsheba's Bonnets, why would you? First off, Bathsheba isn't a hero in the Bible. Like, this is what always trips me up when people like use Bible stuff. Like, you really should understand the context. Like, Bathsheba kind of schemed with David to get her husband killed so she could just hook up with David, like King
Oh,
David.
she was the mother of Solomon, right?
Yes, and she also schemed to get Solomon on the throne, because it's not like Solomon was first in line for the throne. She subverted David's will on who, because David picked an heir, and she was like, that ain't my son. I don't like him. So she ran a whole game and got Solomon put on the throne while they were partying, celebrating being ascended to the throne. She was like, I'm actually going to get him inaugurated. So while y'all over there partying, I'm going to fill out the paperwork.
So
And
it
get
says she's best known for the biblical narrative in which she was summoned by King David, who had seen her bathing and lusted after her.
mhm.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and of course,
Scandalous.
it's always framed like she had no agency, but she actually had a lot of agency in that situation. She wanted to move up in the world. You get the feeling that her and her
Yeah.
husband Uriah weren't really like feeling it anymore, because David
Wife
actually,
of,
after he
yeah, you're
messed
right.
it with him, he got her pregnant, and he didn't want the baby pinned on him, so he called Uriah back from the war and was like, Uriah,
Hey, hey,
you need to spend some time with your wife. And Uriah was
hey.
like, I'm cool. I need to stay with the at the war. And so finally he
I'd rather
just,
stay at the war,
and
first of
then
all.
so David was like, well, I'll put him in a position where to make sure he gets killed in the war, and so that I don't have to deal with the fact that I
Whoa, whoa,
knocked up
whoa.
his
This
wife.
is the B-play? This is terrible. This is
This
way.
is, yes, this is what's actually in there. Like, if you take the time to read it, this is what
I
happened.
don't wanna, like, okay. I don't
Okay.
wanna
So to me,
go.
that was just funny too, because it was just one of those
Wow.
instances where it's kind of like, you really don't want to name something after her. She's
You
not a
want her
hero.
bonnet? Yeah, like
Right.
she,
Like, I
yeah.
don't really want to do moves like that where I'm like just trying to, because you get the feeling too, she set up the seduction of David too, because she's outside bathing. Her name is Bathsheba. Like
It's
Sheba is just
like,
kind of
oh,
Hebrew for
David.
queen.
Oh,
Like, yeah, she's just, yeah, like, oh, I just happened to be
oh
all
these
wet.
things.
It's like, oh, I just like, oh, is David like historically horny? Is that a thing?
Wow.
Yeah, he was kind of
Wow.
like the Bill Clinton of their day. Like that's what he was known for.
Really? Damn.
Yes,
I need
like
to really read this Bible for real. And
David was
that's Catholic school from K through 8. And I mean, again, I forget just about everything. Especially because none of this, I feel like these stories don't necessarily have a place in my mind. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, so I don't remember, but yeah, I don't remember learning about
no,
that.
they don't teach it. I was sitting there bored and just read it. Like, because they're just going over the same thing over and over again. So I'm like, what's actually in here? Because I noticed that from my other textbooks, like they weren't teaching
Mm.
all of history.
Now that I
So
noticed, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
and so I would just read the stuff they weren't teaching about because it's right there, and I'm bored. You're teaching me the same thing every year. Back to the
Wow.
movie.
Back to sorry guys. Skirt.
So we're following Trinity around, and she is working her ass off to be perfect. That's what I'm getting from this. Like her nails perfect, hair perfect, paint, makeup perfect, clothes perfect. What she's saying, she's only speaking encouragement. She's being very like
Oh
she's using the
wow.
right tones. And at this point, something's happened, but you don't know what. And there's a scene. This is what I really wanted you to see. I should have just given you the
Now
time frame,
you
this
I'm about to
timestamp.
say now you know I can look it up, but go ahead.
But
What
it's
did
a
you want me
sex
to see?
scene though, so you don't like watching those. But it's a
Oh.
sex scene
I mean,
between
I
her.
will.
I mean, but it's not like sexy at all though, because like they're in bed and they're kind of doing foreplay or whatever, and it kind of starts off sexy, right? But then he flips her over, and she's like, "Wait, can we do it the regular way?" And he's like, "Okay, sure." And then he immediately loses his erection, and so then he's like, "Well, can you just finish me off?" And so she gets down and gets to
Finishes
business
him
and
off.
finishes him
Not
off.
gets to business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I'm saying, like she's
She gets to work.
anything he asks her to do, she just does it. And so at this point, you don't know about the scandal. Like, there's a scandal, but you don't know what the scandal is. But
Mhm,
I was,
mhm.
I had my feelings. It's like probably involved either underage people or gay sex. And so
Okay.
you get the
It
feeling he
was
was
both.
probably grooming them when they were even younger and then finally sleeping them when they were 18. Because I think this was based on the Eddie Long scandal. Or Eddie Lowe. That was it, Eddie Lowe. Was that it? Was that? I don't know.
No,
I can't
you
remember. What
but
one there's
it was a pastor in Atlanta,
first off,
right?
there's plenty
Eddie
of them.
Long, I
It's not
believe
just
it
it's
was.
not just one anyway, but that was the one that was super famous because it was a really big church.
Yeah, it's wait. So Eddie Long. Eddie Long was an American pastor who served as the senior pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church, a mega church in DeKalb County. He died. Is he dead? The guy you talking
That's what
about?
I was no, I don't that's what I'm saying. I don't remember the dude's name or I feel like it was Low because I can remember
There
thinking
you
like,
go.
oh, that was low down. But
LOW maybe.
yeah, but
Anywho,
yeah, but
sorry if that ain't you,
it
sir.
doesn't it happens enough that it didn't even have to be that one. But
Right. Oh my
so
God.
I bring that up to say, like, she just does everything perfect. She even has to talk because the next day she calls her mom and she's like, "Mom, come over. I need to talk to you." And her mom is just like, y'all young people are just so quick to give up. It's like, how many times it's like, I had to forgive your father and da 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 and da da. And so she just kind of feels like because she's trying to talk to the documentary crew, but they won't talk back to her. And so she's like, okay,
Yeah.
y'all are just a fly on the wall or whatever. And she can tell how she looks to them. That's what's kind of
Oh,
haunting about it. Cause it is
yeah.
funny at parts, but some of it is like really
It's real
tragic and
sad and
hard to watch. Like that sex scene was hard to watch.
but isn't that comedy though? Like I think that's why I end up laughing about stuff that really technically is not funny because it's so wildly uncomfortable and it's one of those things where like if you try to get over whatever that traumatic thing is, you might have to use humor to be able to like
Lighten it up. I
remember
mean,
that time?
it will. I think Chris Rock said that like humor is like putting your medicine in orange juice. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you can swallow it. You know what
Yep.
I mean? Sometimes you can't just go into it. But to me, this was darker than most comedies. Like this was definitely a dark comedy
Mm.
because some of it was actually like just heartbreaking. Like, it wasn't just like, because there were the funny parts, and you did need the heartbreaking parts to realize how funny this is right now. Because there is a part when because this was his thing. He was like, we do praise dancing, we got basketball, we got this, we got that. He's like, we even got like praise mimes. Have you ever seen praise mimes? Like, he was trying to do all this stuff
Who
or
wants to
whatever.
see that, man?
So the reason the movie's called Honk for Jesus is because they're trying to drive up traffic to their church. So he literally has him and his wife out in the street in front of their church holding up a sign that says Honk for Jesus, save your soul.
Oh my
Then he
God.
brings out this wagon that has this like idol of Jesus on it, but it's like dreadlock black
Oh, it's
Jesus. But
real
you can
creepy.
tell it's real creepy. And actually it's funny because it reminded me of Kevin Smith's movie Dogma, where they it was
Oh,
like the
I saw
Catholic
that a
Church,
long time ago.
which
Don't
you
remember
probably with
anything.
me.
Probably.
And it was and it was this dark satire as well, and it was the Catholic Church trying to rebrand itself, and they made Buddy Jesus, which was like Jesus doing like this and like looking super friendly or whatever. And this is what this reminded me of, like, but it was black Jesus.
Oh,
But you could tell
wow.
it was a black Jesus. They had painted black because my daughter pointed this out. The hands were still white, and
I
I
didn't see that.
and I was like, I think that's symbolism.
It
I was
has
like,
to
that's a
be.
very good catch, Eden. But it's also
That's
very real because I remember when I was younger coming up, you couldn't find black religious imagery. So my grandmother would just paint it black.
same. My mom was on that too. It was like, well, we
Yeah.
gotta just at least, kind of try this out. And so Chris Rock was in Dogma. Oh,
Yes.
Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, George Carlin.
Yes.
What a
He
national
was George
treasure.
Carlin was the priest. Actually,
Shut up.
this is such an aside, but it was something that touched
Sorry.
me so much and made me love George Carlin because
I
his
love him.
wife had just died before they shot that movie, and they've been together for a really long time. And like, he's playing a priest, so he can't wear a wedding ring. So, but he wasn't ready to take his ring off yet. And so Kevin Smith worked with them. They did a prosthetic so they could just put it around it so he could keep his ring on. And
Aw.
I just
That's
remember that
sweet.
being really, really, it made me like Kevin Smith for just understanding, because some directors are like, dude, you're doing this thing, like you're playing
Which
a part. Like,
right.
we make some people shave their heads, you can't take a ring off, but Kevin
Yeah.
Smith, but he himself is a married man. He was like, you know what, I get that. Like, let's work
And I
around
want you in
this.
this movie, so if I have to make one concession, like,
Right,
what's the big deal?
right. Yeah,
Okay.
but not everybody's that cool. So I
I
really like
know.
that. But
Everybody should
anyway,
be.
Trinity and her, they are out there in the
Pop,
because
lock,
I
and
don't know where they
dropping.
are in the, yeah, like Honk for Jesus Savior holds really driving stuff up. Um it it all comes to a head because their whole big thing is they want to do this comeback for Easter. They want to do a resurrection thing for Easter. And so when they're trying to plan it, doing all this stuff, and she buys that 2500 church lady hat, right? She's just in love with it, like she's talking about it and everything. And when he sees it, he's like, oh, do you think that's the right look? You kind of making us look old. And so she's like, I really can't hear that from you right now. You know what I mean? Like, because this is also really hits home too if anyone's ever had any difficulty in their marriage. Like, this is like when you have to like pull it together, you know what I mean? And it doesn't matter how you feel in the moment, like, because she had to keep pushing it down. And at a certain point, he gets her in mime makeup to do the Honk for Jesus stuff. Like, she looks on a full ass, like she looks like a geisha with black lips. And like, to me, that's what it looked like to
Wait.
me.
Black lips.
Because she's a mime. Like, mime makeup is
Oh,
like
they have
white, and
black
then you do the
lips?
yeah, like look up a mime. They have
I
black
don't wanna look
lips.
it up. I hate it. And
Well,
so I tried to
I had to look at it. It was hard to look. It was hard to watch. I think that was around the time I started falling
I
asleep
am
because I
done
was
with
like,
this.
you know what? Maybe I'll just listen to it.
I couldn't. And so, like, if I could just be totally transparent, like, I was just
Yes, please.
having a hard time. Like, it was not I couldn't even so, and I don't know if this is PTSD just from my time in like Catholic school or just from Christianity in general. But I was just like, yeah, this I couldn't even stay up for it. Like, I was tired, and sometimes like I can push through if I feel like it's pulling me in, but I was like, yeah, it's not
It's
pulling me in. It
It's
was
I
not
would
pulling me in,
say
friend.
I
I'm not gonna
recommend
lie.
it, but it's a hard watch. Like, you
Mm,
have to be kind of really prepared for it. And I'm glad I had a watch buddy.
mm-mm.
Um but it was, yeah, that part to me was, one of the more harder parts to watch when she's in and so she ends up having a breakdown at that point.
Obviously.
I'm
Your
not
mime music. What kind of music for makeup? I
I was like, "What is my music?" I
I
thought it was
don't
all
know,
about
it's
being
probably
quiet.
terrible. Just like it's probably awful, just like the makeup.
It
I
was
just can't.
but the fact too that, like, mimes are really a type of clown, and you got
Like,
me out
you're a
here
whole
in some
clown, bitch.
clown.
That's what this
Yeah, like,
is.
your life is kind of like and she's also seeing it through the lens of to me, that's what is making it interesting is because she is seeing herself through the eyes of this crew for the
Which is
first time ever because
good for you.
she's only seen herself reflected through the congregation. Because
Mhm.
she drops the game too in it because she's supporting him because she needs to get back on that stage.
Right, right, right.
You know what
That's
I
the
mean?
feeling I got, like, she seemed like she was going hard because she needed to, like, reinforce her position, and I just don't my question is, what are you getting out of that? Like, being the first lady of a church, I mean, obviously, if you are somebody who really believes what you're there doing, and it's really about, like, I'm trying to save people's souls, which is what it's supposed to be about, why does it matter if you have a $2,500 hat on? Why does it so, like, to me, it's like, man, the whole messaging behind, it's like Instagram for, for church, like, it's about likes, and
Well,
it's
we're
about
not even on that algorithm. There's a whole church you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, we're not.
there's a whole community around like, churches, not surprisingly, use a lot of social media.
Yeah, they do,
Yeah, because I sometimes get it with on Pinterest, like, because the stuff I search for on Pinterest thinks I'm a church lady, and so
ah.
they'll but I mean, there's a Venn diagram, there's a lot of crossover because 'cause I'm really into
For sure.
hair,
Mm.
like, they're like, "Oh, you're really into hair? You must go to church." And
Ah.
so the research shows, the algorithm isn't wrong about that, it's just not perfect.
Right, and I mean and that's not to say, like, again, I mean, there's value in every well, I can't say every because I don't know every religion, but, like, I get it, like, I
The
get it.
discipline. I think there's a value in every
In
discipline.
every discipline. It's just hard I don't know, like, I just couldn't even get into it, friend. I'm not even gonna hold you up.
You know
Like, this
what?
was not for me based on just what I saw, and again, like, I was tired when I tried to start watching it, and it just didn't pull me in that first probably 20 or 30 minutes of it that I was able to get through. At the same time, I thought to myself, like, I already know there's gonna be stuff in here that is gonna be, like, triggering and deeply disturbing
Yeah.
because I do feel like, us growing up in like you said, you've been to the mega churches, you've been to the smaller churches, and I have my husband and I
Can
have
I
talked
say I like the smaller churches way more?
you know yes, you can say that. Absolutely, you
Thank
can,
you.
and I think it's a
'Cause
whole
they're more
different
community
experience.
based, like, it's a community, it's actually a community.
Yeah, and that's what I like about I mean, the idea of church. I like being able to think like if I came on hard times and my life blew up or whatever, like, churches for the most part, if they're regular, you know what I'm saying? Like if it's normal or whatever. I don't know, normal, whatever the word is for what I'm trying to say. If I said I needed help,
I think
somebody's gonna
massively
try.
abusive is what you're looking for. It's not a massively abusive pimping
If it's
situation.
not right, like, if it's not just straight up,
Yeah.
pimping or whatever, and they are community minded, like, they do try to offer resources, and I love that because people do need that,
Mhm.
but my husband grew up in a situation where, he grew up in a small church and he was like, yeah, like we were able to ask questions, raise our hands if we didn't understand stuff. And it was more of a conversation, like whereas even though I didn't go to mega churches as a kid, I got introduced to Catholicism because of school. And there was a Catholic church that was pretty multicultural too, like in our neighborhood in Detroit that we would go to for like vacation Bible school because there was, like, free food and stuff, and my mom
Bo
would be at work, and we'd walk the 3
Mhm.
blocks to be like, "I'm trying to get that salami
Mhm.
sandwich and that apple juice in the little plastic container
They
that
knew
you
what they were
rip the
doing.
top off." So, I will sing about, "Give me oil in my lamp, keep me burning, 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 give me oil in my lamp, I pray, hallelujah." Like, I was like, "I will do that for this sandwich right now because you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
They got snacks, and so, you
Good
know
snack.
yeah, and it keeps you out of trouble and whatever, so I get it,
Yeah.
but I do feel like, when the message stops being about community outreach and there's people suffering in the community and in the congregation, and you have these people who are wearing an outfit worth more than what I make in a month,
Yeah, like
and
you
I
got
don't
on
know
a
how to
hat
feed
that's
my
worth
kids.
like that would pay my rent for 2 months. Like
That don't add
you
up. The math ain't mathing for
Yeah,
me,
and
and
you're making
so
me feel bad for not giving you money.
this
That's
is
the
a moral, like, failure on your part. You don't
Yes.
believe enough. How fucking manipulating, like, that to me is disturbing.
I call it spiritual extortion.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, where it's like, "Huh, you got a nice soul there. It'd be terrible if something happened to it if you didn't give me enough money."
And
It's
you don't
like,
even give a fuck
"Wow."
about my soul, actually. Like,
Right. I
that's the
can tell
picture.
by the way you just had sex with my underage son.
Right,
You know
on
what I
the
mean?
floor in your office. Didn't we have a Stranger Things picture that
That
included
was a
that?
girl,
A
but
16-year-old?
yes,
But
a
sure,
girl,
somebody's
but yeah,
child
that doesn't
who's
make it better.
underage? No,
Yeah.
it
No, and I'm
doesn't.
giving you money? Like, I don't think so.
No, and it's
No.
just, I mean, like, it's yes, it's ultimately, it feels very predatory, and I think that, like, it speaks to the fact that, like, humans in general are looking to connect to something, and most of the time, it's not that, though, and I think that we can't even have that discussion because we've been socialized to not even question any of that, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? And again, like, I'm not taking away any of the
'Cause
good
then
that
you're
comes
being
from
a
that.
Jezebel. You Jezebel, you.
Shit, or a Bathsheba from what I
No,
just learned today.
they never bring her up. She
I'm
doesn't
bringing
even
her
really
up.
get any. I'm
Shit.
just talking about in real church what they call you. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You're either
it's
being like a
Jezebel.
Jezebel or who's the other one they don't like? Really, none of the
The
female
Mary that
characters.
washed the feet with the hair,
Mary
Magdalene.
Magdalene. They never even said she was a prostitute. That's just
Yeah, so she was
them
probably a
talking
hoe.
shit.
She was doing nice
Right.
stuff.
Like you're around men, so she's a prostitute.
She's a
All
hoe.
right.
So
All right.
it is. It's a sad, sad, sad sort of situation when you have people who are looking for something and what you're giving them is empty as fuck. You know what I
Entertainment,
mean?
because what struck me about the what got me thinking in the movie is the fact, because she even said it too, like, you have to give the people entertainment.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So a lot of what they're doing is entertainment, and I remember I made this note to myself a while ago, just how much loyalty we give our entertainers, whether they deserve it or not, because they entertained us, and
Mm.
entertainment feels so good. And I think
Mm.
because I think things do get lost. There's so many different types of organizations, like you said. So when they're community based, that's great. But when it's
Mhm.
just about like, I'm entertaining you and you need to give me this money though, because I'm entertaining you so good, this must be God.
And also God, but then also on top of that, so that's the message, but then you have a Bible verse that tells you, you gotta give me your 10% too, though. Like, here's you I mean, it ain't me. I mean, technically, I ain't asking, and if I'm doing the Lord's work, like, why don't you want me why shouldn't I have the
Why
best of the
can't I be
best?
icy?
And I mean, which like, if you're just making arguments, yeah, but, like, but not if the people in your church aren't okay. Like, I feel like if you're gonna have that, everybody in here, nobody should leave church on Sunday wondering how the fuck they gonna pay their light bill or get a meal or anything else like that. Like, if this is really truly about building a community around the energy of, like, love thy neighbor and treat people like you wanna be treated and all of this other stuff, it's like, then I don't understand how people are still out here struggling to survive, and then you have the audacity to stand up here and make me feel bad because I don't want to give you enough money to buy a Movado watch, like our Stranger Than
Or
Fiction last year.
10% of my gross
Or
income.
10%, you ask me for my W-2s. These
That
churches
is
be
how I
asking you
learned the difference between gross and net income. I learned that in
through church.
church. Yeah,
Boom. Thank you,
boom.
church.
But I mean, you know what? It did give me some good life skills because I did have to use math. Like I had to learn how to use math to tithe.
Math.
Like, and I did end up finding out how much money my mom made because she'd never tell me. So I just saw her
Ah.
writing her tithe check one time and I was like, oh, you get paid every 2 weeks, move the decimal point over, boom, that's what you net.
Ah.
Or I'm sorry, that's what you gross,
That's what
because
you gross, yeah.
that's what you gross, but even in my head, I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, it's gonna be less than that, what you actually take home, and then you take."
Right, right.
But and that's the thing too that's interesting, because it does teach you that discipline, right? Like, you have to know how much money you have and where it's going to be able to tithe, because that's
Yeah,
the
that's
thing,
true.
like, you do kind of learn some financial literacy from it, but they don't tell you, it's like, actually, if you put that 10% in a Roth IRA, you'll be
Set
sitting
it up,
pretty in, like, 30
right.
years, it'll be
Get a
nice.
nice annuity going, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Because they
some
do
pretty good
say, like,
returns.
I'm not gonna mention any mega churches around here, but they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, we give scholarships." It's like, "That's $1,000 scholarship. How much did I give you this year?" You know what I'm saying? And I could have
Like, if
been
I
if
woulda just
just
put
the
up the
interest.
10%, like,
Yeah.
that would've been well over that.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying, make it make sense. So, I
yeah.
because I would, because I actually remember sitting in church doing the math. I was like, "Oh, wow." So if, every family is giving 10% of their gross income, I'm like, "That is a tidy little sum every week." I'm
It just
like,
feels
tax free.
like I'm grossed out. I mean, when they're showing, when that personification or that, like, particular narrative around, like, the mega church thing, when it's that thing, when it's like, this is a business, they're not paying taxes.
And not on that big old house.
Every you can put everything under your business, and just how,
Mhm.
like, the whole structure, how they structure businesses, especially in our country. I'm not really sure how it is outside of being here, but there's so many loopholes and tax breaks
Mhm.
and all this stuff. Listen, I'm not saying that, like, businesses shouldn't be able to take advantage of the tax breaks that are legal to them or whatever. Fine. This is capitalism. This is the system. This is what it is. However, when you're positioning yourself in front of people, and your job is supposedly to be like, okay, we're trying to get people, like, we're trying to, like, we're trying to give this message of hope and whatever, and we're trying to make this the thing better, but then we don't
I
really
like
even
that. Hope or
see,
whatever.
or whatever it is that they're trying to do. Like,
Hope or whatever.
save me, like, even though you technically don't know what the fuck happens after I close my eyes, but cool, whatever it is, you know because that, again, we're all looking for something. What is the I don't know, like, I just feel, again, like, I keep going back to, like, so, like, why are the Smiths over here, they like, their kid has this, I don't know, they can't even afford to school clothes or whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? They can barely pay for their lunch or whatever. Why aren't the collections going up every week for a different family in this bitch? There's 52 weeks in a year. I mean, how come we can't just pull a name? This goes to y'all this week. This goes to
You
y'all
know
this
what?
week.
I think it's, I've been watching Black AF with my daughter too. It's because of slavery. We still really,
What's
really
the
wanna be
sound
like
effect for slavery? It needs to be like, ba-dum,
it's slave hymns.
ba-dum,
Slave hymns.
wow. Like, no!
Mhm. That's that's the slave song. That's the slave sound effect.
I made you record that so that can be not a
Mhm. So, yes, I think
so
it goes
slavery.
back a little bit. I think it's rooted a little bit in our desire to kind of be like white people. Um,
But let's go back though, because I don't think initially it started like that. I do agree with that. I do think that, like, it makes me think about Barracoon and how the main character in that book. What is a book?
books.
In a
Books are
book.
cool,
That is
kids.
my accent now. The book.
Books.
It remind me of the book, a Barracoon,
Ah,
where a
it
good
came
Jew.
out. It was a genuine. It was in books.
It
But
was
yes,
my
the book
soul.
Barracoon
But
is
Zora
great.
Neale Hurston wrote that book, and the character in this book that she was chronicling, was a person who was, like, the oldest known slave, and
Living
she
cargo to
living
come
cargo from.
directly from Africa.
Please correct me. Thank you. Yes, that.
Thank you. Yeah, that was actually brought over.
And so he was talking about, like, his experience, like, with learning about Jesus, because that was, of all of the things that he didn't buy into, as far as the white man, like, waiting for them to do anything for him, blah, 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 blah. Him learning about Jesus kind of took him out a little bit, and he held on to some of that, which got passed on. And it was like, I think that these folks needed to have something to hold on to. And I think it probably gave them hope. I mean, it also dehumanized them to the point of sympathizing with their oppressors and going along with the bullshit because they didn't even get the full picture of what the actual book was supposed to be. But I just feel like it started off as just something that, like, obviously, yes, they gave that to them, but it did serve the purpose to sort of like give them
enough to
some
keep going.
enough to keep going. And then it
Yeah.
became,
Yeah, it
I
evolved
want
into
to be
something
like
else.
them, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, now, in order for me to be a good person,
You know what? I
I
always
have
wonder too
to.
why, because you know that we talk about that conversation with James Baldwin and Nikki Giovanni, and they were kind of
Mhm.
discussing too about how like black people, like how they kind of ran with, Jesus. He's like, yeah, like they didn't expect us to do that with that cat. And I was like, yeah, because like I
Yeah.
think like because I think in real life, like Jesus would have been. I think there's something in us that was like really remembers that in a way because they always act like Jesus was this European dude. Like we always
Mhm.
visualize how we visualize Jesus, but it would have been a black dude. Like if this was somebody who really like shook things up, and we still talking about him like that, like yeah, if people bring that back up, I think that does ignite something in you where you're like, ooh, my soul remembers this. Like,
Mhm.
this is actually something from where I'm from, even though they've reappropriated it. Jesus was
Right.
hiding out in Egypt. That wasn't they try to make you think Egypt is white people. No, that's the whole
Yeah.
reason why they're trying to make Egypt white now. Egypt literally means Kemet. That's black land. Like,
Dumb.
if you were hiding out in Egypt, you couldn't do that as if you were a very pale person.
Nah, you gonna burn
So
up.
it's hot.
Not there.
Hot.
But
So
yeah.
yeah, I think that. Oh, but anyway, the movie, the ending is weird because you just kinda see her face, like, on Easter
Did
Sunday
she
when
have on
they're
that
opening.
fucking makeup?
No, not on Easter. She has her hat on, though, because he's still
Okay.
fucking with her about that hat, and she's like it's that moment when you kinda look at your spouse, and I'm like, "In this moment, you can't say shit to me." Like, Imma really need you to understand that, like, you
Um,
are way too comfortable with me right now, like, with the bullshit that you did, because nigga
mm. Ooh, this feels personal. No, where's my popcorn at,
I
girl?
no, but it's very they did a great job,
Of
like,
capturing that.
communicating that where it's just like, "You're not about to make this about my hat right now because this hat right now is the only reason I'm damn near here."
Bitch,
Like,
so
the
I can
fact that
flex
I
on these
have
hoes.
yeah, the fact that I have 2,500 extra dollars to put on this hat, that's what's giving me strength right now. So why don't you just
Fuck
mm-mm,
off.
and it doesn't even matter because ain't nobody here because of your ass.
I know that's right, because they're here to see me. Anybody who's still here.
No, no, no. No, no,
No,
no.
they weren't?
Nobody was there.
At the
No,
Easter Sunday
there
church
were the
thing?
5 people
The
who
2 the
like, the
2
5 diehards and the people who weren't gonna leave the church no matter what, and then other than that, there was nobody there. So
Oh
this
my
is
god.
huge ass person. Imagine like this huge ass and they're standing outside waiting to greet everybody. Ain't nobody showing up.
They're at the other
Except
church.
one car's pulling up and then it starts doing donuts. I actually think, oh, and actually was it a Camaro? Because I can't remember what the car was. At first, I thought it was a Mustang, but it might have been because he had a confrontation earlier with one of the younger boys that he had messed around with, and he mentioned that he had bought him like a bunch of Air Force Ones and a Camaro, like seduced him.
Mhm. Right, right,
And
right.
so, I think there was like a scene. Yeah, I think there. I don't know. It was some kind of little sports car where he pulled up and just started doing donuts, and then they're just watching it, and then that's it. Fade to black. And well, fade to black after you see Trinity's face because you don't.
Wait, every time you say it,
What?
every time you say her face, now I'm picturing the mime.
Man, it's burned it. Listen, it was fuck because even today earlier, because even Eden brought it up, she's like, "Man, that movie was weird." I'm like, "It is haunting me." That is it because there before
Can't.
that to me, all whenever I see anybody in a situation like that, I do think that could have been me. Like, I remember being younger in church and thinking, like, my life is in God's hands. And because I never wanted to be a first lady. That was the thing I always prayed. It's like, God, whoever my husband is, please don't let him be a pastor because I don't want to be a first lady. That shit looked terrible. I'm like,
I
you have to be,
never even thought that there was a
you
chance that I
have to,
become anybody's first lady.
you have to imagine my mindset like it
I
wasn't up to
can't.
me, like God would be selecting my husband. So I was thinking, like, that's why we be praying about
This
it.
is my
So
judgy face. I'm
you
sorry.
were super hard. Watch the YouTube people so you can it really is worth it for Moni's expressions. But it was Yeah, I remember as a child, like, because knowing I was gonna grow up and get married and God would send me my husband, I did not because, I'm an introvert, like, you have to be an extrovert to be a first lady, like, there's so much social interaction, and to me, that looked hellish. So, I was like, yeah,
Wow.
it was rough. It was real rough. So, I would recommend it, but only if you are okay with criticisms of church,
Christian.
especially the black church.
I could definitely see how this is a hard watch for anybody who's a traditional believer, somebody who isn't, like if you don't like to explore narratives around how church could be problematic, you probably don't do it. And for me, like I just wasn't, I don't know. Like again, I was tired too, so it could be that part. So I don't want to totally shit on it, but it didn't pull me in, and I was just like, yep, I'm going to bed now. I
Yeah, I
can't.
was set up like I was
Mm-mm.
taking notes
You
and I
did
did it
good.
early. Yeah, we started at like 7 p.m.
Oh, yeah, see, that was where I fucked up. I should have started
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah,
Mhm.
like, but it like I said, it's not something I would wanna watch around very young children. My daughter's older now, so she can handle
Yeah,
mature
I had to wait till they
themes.
went to bed and all
Yeah, I
this, and
wouldn't
they were
wanna
so
watch it around your
tired.
kids and be like, "Oh, what are they?" And I'm telling you, Donald K. Sterling took his clothes off so much. It
Really?
was yeah,
Okay.
but he was like that kinda dude, you know what I mean? Where it's like, "Okay, you gotta take your shirt off now? Okay." Like, we get it.
I
But
those
it
kinda
is
dudes, it's like, just chill. Can you relax? Relax, alright?
just yeah, it was
Great.
it was a lot. So, it was I would say 2 enthusiastic thumbs up. I'd give it, 5 collection plates.
Oh, wow. The ones with the
'Cause
red velvet at the bottom, the
yeah,
golden one.
listen, they're giving you an experience. Like, that was my whole thing too, where I kinda started justifying church, where it was kind of like, well, they are providing an experience. Like, there's live music,
You know what? I'm
there's a
glad you said
motivational
that.
speech, you know what
I'm
I'm
glad you
saying?
said that because let
Oh,
me
okay.
ask you this.
Okay.
Do you
Okay, okay, okay.
think that people are more interested, like, as far as church goes, more interested in being entertained than they are, like, actually informed about the Bible or living things out? Because, for me, I'm thinking, like, it's super easy to say, like, "Hey, this is what I believe, and, I'm whatever, and this is what I do, and this is what I believe," but, like, very rarely do you meet those people who you feel like what they're saying they believe lines up with how you perceive that they're living their life. And so it's like, what is that about though? Like, is it more important just to like have that facade and you're there because you're entertained and that's why you're going there?
I
Or are
think
you
that's why
just
people choose churches, yeah. Like, they
yeah,
like their pastor. Like, it's like a guru, right?
yeah,
Like, when people get super into gurus and stuff like that, where you kinda
sure.
wanna or what was the thing we were watching with the Way Down? That chick. Did we review
How
that,
did
or
they
did I
like
just
her?
tell you to have
No, we talked
cult
about it.
confidence?
You
We should review that at some point. But,
you
like,
told me
yeah,
to.
I think it has to do with, for one, spectacle, because that was kinda what Nope was about, that Jordan Peterson movie. So,
J-
we are obsessed with
Jordan
spectacle.
Peele?
Did I say Jordan Peterson?
You
I'm
did, but I
tired and
can't
it's
drag
late.
you because I've said a lot of stuff
Yeah,
wrong. But
Jordan
yes,
Peele, thank you for the
I speak your
correction,
language. Yeah,
so that
yeah.
we don't get a bunch of emails. It's like, "You said
And
Jordan
it's
Peter."
like,
I don't like Jordan. I
actually,
don't really care much for Jordan Peterson, but I very much like Jordan
I
Peele.
don't even know who
I
Jordan
mean, their
Peterson is.
work, because I don't know either of those men. I'm just saying their work,
Who
like,
is Jordan Peterson? Just for the
Jordan
people in the back?
Peterson is, his claim to fame is for, like, he was a Canadian professor who didn't wanna use people's preferred pronouns, so he quit his job.
Okay, next. What were you saying though?
So, yeah, he's not a fave, and
Boring.
then he wrote some books that aren't that great, and then he got hooked on barbiturates. It's a whole thing.
Moving on. I've already
And so
forgotten
Jordan
about him
Peele, though, is a
again.
very talented
I like
individual who
him,
made a movie
yes.
called Nope, and it was about spectacle, you know what I'm saying? So I think church does sometimes
Mm.
become about spectacle for some people, um, and also too, because I
Mm.
remember when we would have church and have a visiting pastor, I'd be so irritated, or if he announced to be a visiting pastor, people wouldn't show up.
First of all, it's like, yeah, I'm not
It's
going
like
to
having
that.
a substitute teacher and be like, "I don't like this at all."
Oh my
I'm
gosh. It's like, you know what? I'm cutting up. Okay, I'll have to pay attention this after this.
Oh, we got to do a love offering. Boo.
Yo, yo, I have to, and this isn't like maybe this should be my Stranger Than Fiction story. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna let it be
Okay.
the preliminary one to the one that
Oh,
you
we got our
have.
preliminaries. But
Yeah,
no, just to wrap it up, I would recommend this if, like I said, you can handle like satire and criticisms of church. Also, it reminded me a lot of the HBO series Righteous Gemstones.
yeah, I've seen
Where
that too. That's
they
good.
where they kind of lampoon white megachurches
Yes,
because it's still
yes.
super fun. Church is still pretty segregated.
Yeah, it definitely is. That was a good one. We started watching that, and I didn't finish it, but yes, I liked
It's
that
so
one.
funny. I
They're
love
crazy. It's
that
super crazy.
show. I might rewatch that. But yeah,
Okay,
but I will say the church I grew up in very integrated. But now I realize
okay.
that wasn't the norm with most people grow up with. Like churches just
Mm-mm.
historically in our country been very segregated and it
I
still kind of is.
know. I remember the Catholic church that was kinda multicultural. There was a Irish family there, the O'Briens, and I remember my favorite part of church obviously was going downstairs in the church basement to get donuts, cause duh,
Mm.
hello,
Mm.
and I remember being like, we used to refer to them as the pink people.
Of course.
'Cause
Yeah.
we did, we were ignorant and
Yeah.
stuff and lived in a mostly black city, but we just yeah, when we were small, like, before we actually went to school full on with just straight up white folks, which was, like, a little later down the road. A little fun fact for you guys, but yeah, I was like,
The
"Okay."
Pinksters.
Yeah, they were pink, and it was a multicultural church, though, and I did like that. I actually did like that. That's probably one of my favorite. Like, that was my favorite probably Catholic church experience that I went to because it was multicultural and it was good vibes in there, and plus the sandwiches in the summertime and
We
the
like
juice.
multiculturalism around here.
I do. I
Yeah.
appreciated that even when I was younger. So, I think if I had to judge this, I would say, um, I mean, I'm gonna give it a 3 because Regina Hall, I love her, and I didn't watch the whole thing, so I don't think it's fair. But I mean, I can't give it a 2 or a 1 because that would be mean.
That
And
would.
I like but what I do like about it is just the conversation that kinda pops up around it because it makes for interesting conversation as far as I'm concerned. So I really, really, really like that part.
I also wanna see more is it or I'm gonna say it wrong. Igbo. I wanna see more from the Igbo sisters.
I agree. I need to look them up because I didn't even, I didn't have any notes this episode. But I do that it's fascinating. I'm liking what they're so like my thing is I like where they're going with this. I like the conversation around this particular topic because this does kind of hit home a little bit. And I'm curious to know what other people think about. And I know that there's going to be so many things when I listen back to this that I'm like, damn, I should have said this. I should have said that, which reminds me, you guys, okay,
Dun, dun,
we are
dun.
going to be launching a Patreon. I know this isn't like where we normally do this, but I wanted to let you guys know we are going to be launching a Patreon, which is sort of like a membership based support for your favorite artists so that they can kind of help sustain their creative projects and also sort of give you bonus content and stuff like that. So I want to start something where we kind of like continue our conversation so we can double back and kind of have the conversation that we forgot to say during the actual episode. So if that's something you're interested in, that is going to be bonus content that we'll have on that platform. And obviously, we'll be doing a whole rollout. You guys will get a lot more information, but I'm really looking forward to that. And we might even be able to do some of that stuff live, like how we're doing it now, like a clubhouse situation.
I would like that.
Yeah, and talk to you guys and include you in that. So if that's something you're interested in, you just wait because we have that coming up for you guys. So yeah, that'll be fun. So I'm definitely looking forward to that and sharing more of that with you guys. If I had to rate this book, oh, not this book, whatever this was, this Peacock special or whatever, I would say,
Well, it's a feature film. It's in theaters.
oh, is it?
Yeah, it's streaming and in theaters.
Thank you for saying that
You're
because
welcome.
listen, I'm about to make it a Netflix situation and I don't even know
Nope.
what's going on.
It was
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So I would give it I would give it 3 Holy Ghost old ladies at a black church on a Sunday when church lasted way too goddamn long, and you're like, when is this going to
Mm,
be over? God, please get me out of here. But
mm.
also, this is comic relief, and so I'm kind of enjoying it. But I'm hungry and ready to go.
And I've seen it before. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as entertainment goes, I've seen this
Yo,
one.
black churches are there for you with the
So
entertainment factor. I will
and
say that.
yeah, it was whew,
It was
oh
definitely
boy.
not dry toast when you went to the black church. It
No,
was always,
no,
something going on,
no.
and
And
so
also shout outs to the music ministry. That live music was pretty fantastic.
yeah, and you know what? Shout out to the LGBTQ plus community because y'all are deep in the church. You guys are I'm gonna shout you out. I don't know how y'all do it. I don't know how y'all show up there and not be appreciated for all the beauty, like all of the artistic sort of and not only artistic, but specifically there was almost always I mean, somebody, I mean, listen, y'all can call me out if I'm wrong, but like if you've been to black churches a lot of times, I'm not saying every minister of music is gay. I'm not saying that.
The good ones are.
But there's a lot of them in there. You listen. I'm just saying, shout out to y'all because y'all made church good, and
Yeah.
y'all don't get enough credit for all of the
You know
goodness
how
that
many
y'all
people
bring
would
into
leave after
spaces
praise and worship at my church?
because y'all want to
Like,
be
they started
entertained,
doing the offering during praise and worship,
right?
like,
Because you
instead
get
of waiting
everybody
until
hype.
after yeah, instead of doing it after the or they do both, whatever. We had
Sure,
to get that Skrilla.
yeah. So
But,
shout out
yeah,
to
let's
y'all.
go ahead and do this little
Are you gonna spin that thing right there now? Do I? Do I?
well, no,
Do I? Do
after
I?
the break. We're gonna
Oh,
do a
should
little
we you guys
break.
wanna take a break and then spin the wheel? Okay, guys, guess what? We're gonna take a
Yeah.
quick break, and then, we'll be right back.
We're back. What a break.
Oh, man. Good times, guys. That was fun, friends, and,
It was. And you know what? I still had a good time even though you didn't watch the whole thing.
I
And you
know.
tried. That's what matters.
Sure, I didn't try that hard, but thank you for giving me
You
credit for
did
that,
though. You
friend.
coulda just been you coulda been worse.
Yeah, and I showed up again. We talked about how important that is.
Mhm. With a good
So,
attitude.
with a good attitude,
Mhm.
all right? Feeling
Mhm.
good, feeling great. All right, awesome. So then I guess, we should kinda move into our Stranger Than Fiction story.
Ooh,
So,
yeah.
if you wanna go ahead and
There we go. Hit it.
okay, so Stranger Than Fiction. So I'm gonna give my fake one because it made me think we were talking about church and stuff like that, right? And you mentioned how
Oh, no.
when we would have
What?
or when you'd have, like, a guest come to the church, like
Mhm.
a guest pastor, guests, people come in through the church. So I do remember being at church one time with my husband, and, it was a small family church. His small family church, I should say, and I don't know who this person was, but I mean, I knew that we had a visiting pastor or whatever, but I never saw him during the whole beginning part, and so there was, like, a praise and worship part where everybody's singing and stuff like that, and they're introducing the pastor, and so from where I was sitting, mind you, this is a very small church, so where I was sitting, I couldn't see him sitting behind the pulpit, and they're, like, singing and stuff, and all of a sudden, yo, you just see what I felt like looked like levitation. So you just see somebody just like raising up very slowly. And I'm like, you just see his head kind of come up. And I was like, what is going on here? To the point where it tickled me so hard seeing him come up out of nowhere. Because I'm ignorant, I'm picturing him levitating. I'm like, this is really weird. I didn't know he was back there. I'm laughing so hard. And of course, my husband is like egging me on. Like, he's making it worse. His twin
Right.
sister sitting behind us, like, y'all are going to hell. It's like, obviously. So I had to like get up and go into the church basement because I couldn't even get the visual of this man levitating from behind and he was making a weird noise. I wish my husband was here because the way he does the noise is so funny. If I wish I would say I would ask him to just record it and put it on here, but that would probably be doing a lot. But just know that it was like a very guttural, very and he was coming up at the same time. It was a lot. It was sensory overload and I couldn't take it. So,
That would be kind of
I was
and it's
scared.
always worse when you're not supposed to be having that reaction. It's impossible to I mean, there's even a phenomenon, the silly church giggles. Like, when you start cracking up in church during something really serious,
If anyone knows me, they know that I've been afflicted with this since a child, and it's not just in church. Like this happens everywhere I go. I mean, it'll be the most inappropriate time. It could be in the middle of a really sad story, and I've made what you said into some weird ass picture in my brain that cracked me up because I'm having a hard time processing this bummer of a story you just told me, and I don't want to cry. So,
Yeah,
so
it's
that was my fake ass Stranger Than Fiction story, you guys. My bad. I just had to share that.
that was
You're
great.
welcome.
And I think we can just leave it there.
We're gonna
I'll
leave it
save
at
mine for
that.
later.
I hate
Yeah,
you
I think that
guys.
was perfect.
Okay,
And
fine.
I'll
Yeah.
save mine for next time because
Okay, I'm with it.
I think it'll still
It'll track.
matter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what do you want to do now?
Well, I guess if we're gonna stay true to form, maybe we should inform our listeners um on what we're gonna do next week, which would involve us, I don't know, spinning the wheel.
Dun dun dun. I think that's best.
Spin
What
it!
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, perfect.
Yay! Okay, friend, do you
Yeah, I'm
wanna
gonna go ahead and announce it because I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I figured this would be the perfect place to kind of slide this in. Christine Amanpour, Sex and Love Around the World. I
Okay.
think I originally saw it on Netflix, but I don't know where it lives now.
That's fair.
If you don't know who Christine Amanpour is, she's
Ye
kind of the shit. She's a journalist. She's like CNN. She's super classy. Like it's really hard to not like this woman. And she always to me brings such interesting facts. I'm always interested in what's going around the world. The fact that she does 5 series on women, focusing mostly on women and their experiences with sex and love around the world. It's pretty universal. We're all kind of
yeah.
having the same problems, but just manifested in different ways. And it's kind of apropos because a lot of it is rooted in religion. So like religions kind of
You
do
guys,
this
we're
sort of mental jujitsu on women. And it's not just here.
it's
It's not just
not.
It's not just yeah, it's so we'll be able to dig into that and I'm really, really excited.
Yay!
So watch it if you wanna know what we're talking about next week.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys are listening to this, maybe watch it, and then that way when we're talking about it, if we miss stuff and you guys wanna be part of our Patreon group, this is, some of the conversations that we can have on the back end. But I am also excited to see this because, yeah, love and sex around the world, man, or sex and love around the world. Whichever one comes first, fine. Whatever you wanna do. I respect
Too
your
many
choices.
women have to get circumcised. I don't like it.
Oh god. Yeah. I don't like it either. I'm glad I've
Whenever
never
I
had
end
it.
up reading something about, like, how women, because of course, I think everyone's like, I think women here are oppressed, but then when I hear about female oppression other places, I'm like, "Oh, that's oppression."
Yo, that's why you should read books. And I mean, because I mean, not like, oh, great, somebody's more oppressed than me, so I don't get to be sad about mine, or I'm so happy that I'm not that kind of oppressed. But it does give you some context, and
It gives you
helps you to.
scope.
Yes, it
'Cause, like,
does.
I can be like,
That's
"Ooh,
important.
I have way more resources than other people," and a lot of times too, those people are doing more than I am. I should be
Almost
ashamed of myself.
always. Let me just put that out there. Shout out to the oppressed, man. Like the truly oppressed. I mean, any oppression that I have in my life, I need you to understand most of it is manufactured by my own brain half of the time. And the
Yeah,
other
it's mostly stuff
stuff,
I can walk away from.
I just be like, yeah, I'm done with that shit.
Like Trinity, though.
Man, listen, nice callback. Yeah, just like
Like
that.
like Trinity, though, because she has all these opportunities, but she's afraid of losing her
Keeps calling me
status.
back. Yeah,
And not
it
just her
is.
status, but her community.
But also,
Like, that's
it's
very
ego based.
real.
It's very real and
But
it's
the
very based in
ego
ego.
but yeah, she wants to keep her status in her community, but she also doesn't. Because what would the move be? Like, even in her position, like, what's really I mean, you divorced this man you've been with for the majority of your life. Um,
Wow.
you have your mama be mad at you,
Oh, that
and
sucks.
ashamed of you. You know what I mean?
That
That's what's
sucks.
hard too, like the shame. It's like, I don't wanna, like,
That
my
shame
mom.
keeps coming up. No matter what story we come
Mm,
through, there's like that's the
mm.
unavoidable like dark cloud like following people around. It's like Goddamn shame, man.
Yeah.
Get it out of
Yeah.
here.
I don't
But you're
like
right.
it.
I don't like it either, friend. It's a sad truth that we all deal with, but I definitely feel like, that's I don't know what the movie is, you know what I mean? And I think we get defined by our titles, right? Like we tend to cling to those so hard that it's hard to see ourselves outside of that. So, let alone thinking about something outside of the way something's presented to you, especially something as huge as like religion and the sort of
The God of the universe being
your
mad at you.
being mad at you and like where your
Like, that's
soul goes forever.
terrifying.
It feels very scary.
It is. It's terrifying. Like,
Scared.
what?
Why should I be this scared? This is
And it's
crazy.
like, because I'm
Ugh.
masturbating? That feels like an
Ah.
overreaction.
This feels pretty benign right now, and this doesn't affect anybody except for me right now.
Yeah.
And I don't get pregnant
So
or get a disease from it. Anywho,
nothing. And I wash my hands.
I do. I stay
Like,
cleanly with it.
like, and that seems to be something like we had to have a whole thing about washing hands during the pandemic. It's like, were people not washing their hands?
You gonna act like you didn't see all of the older. I hate to call y'all out, but the people who I see don't washing hands, man, be older.
You know, I always have this joke
People.
about how, like, the reason white people wanted separate bathrooms because they didn't want us to learn they don't wash their hands.
They're so I mean, and this isn't like, and I'm not bringing this. I'm just
It's a
saying
joke, though. I'm not.
it's
That's
we don't have
yeah.
to
That
jump,
was
but
just
it's
a
like,
joke.
but
I know the
also
good. I know the good. I know the good ones
we know
wash their
y'all wash your
hands.
people wash their hands. People wash their hands. I'm just saying the ones have observed myself personally usually are older. I've seen some younger ones too. Even Chris, shout out to you, Chris Spangle.
We know you're listening.
We know you're listening. You're like, obviously, duh. And the Pat Down podcast,
Mhm.
Deon,
Yeah,
too. They were
everybody.
talking
Yeah.
about how like it's almost he was like, yeah, it's like old white men. I
Be
was
the
like,
first
yeah.
ones want to dap you up and
Miss,
be
leave
all
me
touchy and
alone.
stuff.
Gross.
Yeah,
Like, don't
this
touch
is why we
me.
don't want our hair touched. Just like
I
you
don't need
didn't,
shit particles
because
in
that's
my
always the
braids.
thing. That's the same. So if there was a Venn diagram of not hand washers and hair touchers, it's almost
Ew.
a perfect circle.
It's like, oh, let me.
Yeah, it's like you
Gross.
don't care about other people.
You know what? On that note, I'm pissed. I gotta go. That just
You
made me mad.
should.
You know
Thank
what?
you.
F that.
Your body belongs to you.
It does.
So wherever you want to take it, go there.
Absolutely, man. And the sky's the limit, you guys. Like, be involved in stuff
Yeah.
that makes you feel good. Create something. Take time for yourself and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Because we're enjoying ourselves. This
We're
is fun.
gonna take off.
Yes, guys. Till next time, everybody. See ya. Bye.
Before we go, we must give thanks to Urban Nerd for providing our music, and legal services were handled by Trezanae M. Atkins. If you like what you heard, please feel free to join us every Wednesday for another fake-ass book club. Cheers.
Thank you guys for listening. You can check us out at thefabpodcast.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast wherever you're listening right now. We want to hear from you. Come put it in our life. Thanks again. And until next time, peace, love, and the Fake Ass Book Club. We out.